Hey, what's up, Cowboys Nation? Nicole Hutchison alongside Nick Harris here for continuing day two of the 2024 NFL Combine. Of course, you heard about the linebackers a few minutes ago, but now we got to talk about defensive linemen, right? Of course, positions of need for the Cowboys as well. You have Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Jonathan Hankins, who are all free agents coming up. So definitely a position that the Cowboys need to take a look at. When you talk about the edge rushers, let's start with the defensive end guys first. Who stood out to you today, Nick?
Yeah, there were a lot of different defensive end bodies. You could talk about Laiatu Latu from UCLA. He said that he was kind of in the mix as far as scheduling an informal interview with the Cowboys. We'll see. That would be a huge benefit if the Cowboys could see him slip to 24, and they had the luxury of picking a defensive end at 24. But talking about some other guys, you could also talk about David Ugwoegbu at Houston. He was a guy that had an informal interview as well. And then you talked to Xavier Thomas, edge rusher out of Clemson, who also had an informal interview with the Cowboys this week.
Yeah, and talking about Xavier Thomas, he has a cool, unique story. He was talking about how he went through depression a couple of years ago and how he struggled during COVID, things like that, but he leaned on his mom to kind of get him through that. She worked 2 jobs. So he touched on that and how that kind of shaped him and who the person and the player he is today. And Stephen Jones talked about, them assessing how they are as a person as well when they think about prospects. So what do you think that they're going to get physically as far as attributes and skill-wise from Xavier Thomas if they were to draft a guy like that?
Yeah, Xavier Thomas, he not only brings speed from off the edge, but he brings a little bit of versatility too.
Yeah.
I think there's an opportunity for Xavier Thomas at the next level to slide inside a little bit and maybe come off and play against guards as well. I think his ability to stop the run and also rush the passer is a unique skill set that he's going to be able to bring from that defensive line powerhouse that is Clemson.
Now let's move on to defensive tackles. Of course, Jonathan Hankins, the biggest D lineman we have on the roster. Obviously, we need some more size. T'Vondre Sweat, though, that would be a big guy to get. Just talking about him, what was something that you took away from him?
Yeah, whether the Cowboys bring back Jonathan Hankins or not, they need to add another body in that defensive interior this offseason, whether that be in free agency or the draft. It looks like there is a strategy to maybe get one in the draft.
Yeah.
A lot of different defensive tackles are lined up for formal interviews with the Cowboys this week, or have already scheduled one, or have already had one. You can talk about T'Vondre Sweat. He's already had his formal interview, and in his interview room was Paxton Anderson, nephew of Jerry Jones, and or grandson of Jerry Jones, I'd rather say, and he was a former teammate of T'Vondre Sweat as well. Yeah. So he said it was kind of cool seeing him in the interview room. But yeah, you mentioned his size, playing at 363 pounds last year for Texas. He'll officially weigh in tomorrow. He said everybody that's waiting to see what he weighs in at will know tomorrow. But he's a big run-stopping guy. He won the Outland Trophy for the best interior defensive lineman in college football last season. He really brings that to the next level as well.
Over 360. Okay, just that. I don't think that's clicking in people's heads. 360 pounds. I know one of the questions that was asked to him was, is there any concerns as far as being your size and your conditioning? Do you think there should be any concerns moving on to the next level when you're talking about a guy that size?
T'Vondre said no, but going to the NFL, there's always a little bit of a different approach that you have to take from the business standpoint of it. It's the strength and conditioning program is always going to be different no matter where you come from at the college level, whether that's Georgia, Texas, or Alabama, facilities with the best type of strength and conditioning programs. Going to the NFL is just kind of a different level. So I think early in the beginning you might see him lose a little bit of weight, but once he's able to kind of configure that weight and turn it into a muscle and being able to use that in the defensive interior, I think you'll really see what T'Vondre Sweat will be able to bring.
Is there another defensive lineman that you feel could fit perfectly into this defensive line?
Man, there's a lot of different guys here at the Combine here this week. I'm blanking off of names right at the top of my head. I'll talk about Gabe Hall from Baylor. Didn't have an opportunity to speak with him today as we were running around, but a big, tall presence at defensive tackle. He stands nearly 6'6" tall. You can see him come through the building before anybody else just with his tall presence, but he also has that wide frame as well. So be able to bring that long, wiry frame, but also ability to grow into it, nearly 300 pounds. I think that would be an interesting fit with the Cowboys there in the interior.
Size is going to be big. Stopping the run is going to be big in order to do that. Excited to see the talent that is going to be showing over the next couple of days as well in the 2024 NFL Combine. But that is a wrap for day two. Nicole Hutchison and Nick Harris.